You know that feeling when you're about to do something important and suddenly everything else becomes urgent? That's not laziness. That's not distraction. That's something Stephen Pressfield calls resistance, and it's the most powerful force working against your creative life right now. The war of art is about one thing: why we don't do the work we know we're meant to do. And more importantly, how to do it anyway. Here's what you need to know. Resistance is real. It's not in your head. It's a force that meets you every single time you sit down to create, and it's your job to recognize it for what it is so you can fight back. Think of resistance like this. It shows up as procrastination. It whispers that you need to check your phone first, or organize your desk, or research a little more before you actually begin. It shows up as perfectionism, telling you that whatever you're about to make isn't good enough anyway, so why bother? It even shows up as other people's voices in your head. Criticism you've internalized so well you don't realize it's not actually you thinking. Takeaway 1. Resistance is proportional to the importance of the work. This is the key insight that changes everything. The bigger the gap between who you are and who you could become, the more resistance you'll feel. If your work doesn't matter, you won't feel much of anything. But if you're sitting on something that could actually change your life or touch other people's lives, resistance will show up with full force. So here's how you use this. The thing you're most afraid to do, the project that makes you most uncomfortable, the dream you never mention out loud, that's not a red flag that you should avoid it. That's evidence that it's exactly what you need to be doing. Resistance only fights what matters. Start today by naming the one thing you're avoiding. Write it down. That's your work. Takeaway 2. The difference between an amateur and a professional has nothing to do with talent. It has to do with showing up. A professional commits to the work regardless of whether inspiration strikes. An amateur waits for the feeling to be right, for the conditions to be perfect, for life to somehow clear the way. Here's the radical thing. It doesn't. Life never clears the way. The professional understands this and works anyway. If you're waiting to feel like writing, you'll never write. If you're waiting to feel creative, you'll never create. The feeling comes after you start, not before. Think about an athlete training for the Olympics. They don't train only when they feel like it. They train on the days they don't feel like it. That's what separates amateurs from professionals in every field. So here's your action. Decide right now that you're turning pro. Choose your creative work. Then commit to showing up to it tomorrow morning for 30 minutes. Whether you feel inspired or not, do it the day after that. Keep going. Takeaway 3. Fear is a compass. What you're most terrified of doing is pointing directly toward your greatest growth. Pressfield says that when we feel fear about our work, we should recognize it as information. That fear is showing us exactly where we need to go. So many of us have been taught to run from fear, to take the safe path. But what if fear isn't a stop sign? What if it's a green light? The screenwriter terrified of actually finishing her script should probably finish it. The entrepreneur afraid of making the first sale should probably make it. The artist convinced they don't have permission to create should probably create anyway. Think about it this way. If you weren't afraid of something, you wouldn't protect it. We're afraid of the things that matter most. We're afraid of being seen. We're afraid of being judged. We're afraid of failing at something we actually care about. Your move is simple. Take the thing that scares you most about your work and do it today. Start that project. Share your ideas. Apply for the opportunity. Lean into the fear. Takeaway 4. Resistance takes 1,000 different forms, and that's what makes it so hard to recognize. It's not always laziness. Sometimes it's perfectionism. Sometimes it's helping everyone else before yourself. Sometimes it's self-criticism or criticism of others, which is just a way of avoiding your own work. Pressfield talks about how resistance might show up as victim mentality. You're the person things happen to. You can't create because of your circumstances, your background, your lack of resources. That's resistance talking. It's also brutally effective because it sounds true. Resistance might show up as comparing yourself to other people. You look at what someone else created and think yours will never be good enough, so you quit before you start. That's resistance. It might show up as distraction. You're constantly pulled to other projects that seem more urgent, more important, more doable. Here's how to work with this. For the next week, keep a list every time you feel yourself turning away from your work. What did resistance sound like? Was it a voice saying the work wasn't good enough? Was it the urgent pull toward something else? Was it a story about why you couldn't do it? Just notice. Awareness breaks the spell. Takeaway 5. The muse exists, and it's not your imagination. When you do the work, inspiration comes. The muse visits the prepared mind. This doesn't mean you're waiting passively for lightning to strike. It means that the act of showing up, of putting words on the page or paint on the canvas or code in the editor, creates a channel that inspiration can flow through. Pressfield talks about this as a spiritual concept. It doesn't matter if you believe in a literal muse or a higher self or just the creative unconscious mind suddenly connecting dots. What matters is that the muse doesn't come to lazy people. It comes to people who are willing to work. Think of a musician who practices scales every day. That practice isn't inspired. It's discipline. But at some point, during a performance or a practice session, something clicks. The practice prepared them for inspiration to arrive. They become a channel for the music to flow through. So your practice is non-negotiable. Show up to your work every day, even when it feels terrible, even when nothing is coming. You're preparing yourself. You're keeping the channel open. Inspiration will come, but only if you show up first. Takeaway 6. There's a crucial difference between doing work to please others and doing work for the work itself. Pressfield calls this territorial versus hierarchical thinking. Hierarchical people need approval. They're always checking the room to see if everyone likes them. Their work bends toward what they think others want. Territorial people do the work because the work itself is the reward. They're not checking the room. They're checking their own internal compass. Does this feel true to me? Is this the best work I can do right now? That's all that matters. Here's the thing about hierarchical thinking. It makes you dependent. You need the praise, you need the validation, you need the algorithm to like your content. When it doesn't, you collapse. Your work suffers because it was never really about the work. Territorial thinking is liberating and terrifying at the same time. You're completely responsible. If the work is bad, that's on you. If it's good, you know it's truly good because you measure it against your own standards, not external ones. Start today by asking yourself one question about your work. Am I doing this to impress someone, or am I doing this because I believe in it? Then do whatever it takes to shift to the second answer. Takeaway 7. The unlived life is the cost of not fighting resistance. This might be the most sobering idea in the entire book. There are paths you never took. There are dreams you abandoned. There are versions of yourself you never became. That's the price of letting resistance win. Pressfield talks about the shadow career. It's the career you could have had if you'd been brave enough, the book you could have written, the business you could have started, the difference you could have made. These shadows accumulate. They haunt us. We see them in the lives of people just slightly braver than we were. The real tragedy is that it wasn't inevitable. You weren't doomed to this life. You just chose safety. You chose to stay where it was comfortable, and somewhere deep down you know it. This doesn't mean you have to chase every dream. It means you need to choose consciously. Don't let resistance choose for you, so here's what you do. Write down 3 things you've abandoned, not to feel guilty about them, but to recognize them. Then pick one, just one. What would it take to revive it? What's one small step toward it you could take this week? Takeaway 8. Starting before you're ready is the secret that breaks resistance's hold. You're never ready. You'll never feel prepared enough. The conditions will never be perfect. And that's the point. Resistance uses not being ready as its greatest weapon. Pressfield talks about how every single professional starts before they are ready. The writer starts writing the book before they know how it ends. The filmmaker starts filming before they know if the locations are perfect. The entrepreneur launches before everything is figured out. The magic happens in the doing, not in the preparation. You learn by doing. You develop skills by using them. You discover what works by trying things that don't work first. The only way to be ready is to start. Here's the paradox. The moment you start, you become more ready. Your first scene doesn't have to be perfect. Your first product doesn't have to be complete. Your first attempt doesn't have to succeed. It just has to exist. So what are you waiting for? Stop preparing. Stop researching. Stop telling yourself you need one more thing before you can begin. Begin today with whatever you have. That's how you fight resistance. That's how you win. Takeaway 9. Resistance loves company. It wants you to believe that what you're experiencing is normal, that everyone feels this way, that this is just how life works. But most people never overcome it. Most people spend their entire lives stuck on the other side of it, wondering what might have been. The people who do the work are rare. They're not more talented. They're not luckier. They're just willing to do something that almost everyone else isn't willing to do, which is to fight resistance every single day. They show up. They keep going. They don't negotiate with the voice that tells them to stop. Pressfield says that the professional sees resistance not as a sign that they should quit, but as a sign that they are on the right path. When resistance gets stronger, that's actually encouraging. It means the work matters. It means you're getting closer to something real. Your mindset shift is simple but powerful. The next time you feel resistance, don't fight it, welcome it. This is exactly what it's supposed to feel like. That's how you know you're doing something that matters. Takeaway 10. The war of art is not a one-time battle. It's a daily practice. You don't overcome resistance once and then you're done. Every morning, it's there again. Every time you sit down to do meaningful work, it shows up. This is normal. This is how it's supposed to be. The victory isn't conquering resistance forever. The victory is showing up to the fight. Pressfield says that the professional simply accepts that resistance will always be there and does the work anyway. It's not about willpower or inspiration or perfect conditions. It's about commitment. Think about it this way. A war doesn't end when you win one battle. A war is a series of battles. Some you win, some you lose. But if you keep fighting, eventually you hold the territory. Your creative work becomes your life instead of something you wish you'd done. So here's what you need to do right now. Commit to one piece of creative work, just one, and commit to showing up to it every day for the next 30 days, regardless of how you feel. Not forever, just 30 days. See what happens when resistance doesn't get a single day off, when you don't give it the chance to convince you to stop. That's the war of art. That's how you win.